crisis core without materia. Can it be done? Let's find out. Much like the remix challenge, I cannot use materia. This includes summons as well, unfortunately, but I can use anything else. We are also playing on hard mode because I ain't no bitch. We begin fighting through Midgar and start learning just how limited our moveset actually is. We have a basic 5-hit combo and we can roll, and that's it. Everything else is going to come down to the luck of the digital mind wave. Oh boy, I can tell already. This is going to be very fun. We fight a behemoth rolling around Midgar because I guess they just do that. We can make this a fair fight, but I'm going to cheat. We get behind him and combo him, and this will result in staggering him for a second, resulting in him staying in place, which lets us combo him again. We keep repeating this and rolling back into position whenever necessary until he goes down. We now have access to the equipment menu, and I don't want any of the pressure of deciding an optimum loadout, so I delete everything and leave it at that. Much easier. Zack speaks to both Angel and Lazard about going to Wutai.
By the way, what is your dream? To become first? Is it?
No.
To beat crisis core without materia.
Ah, good. Unattainable dreams are the best kind.
Thanks?
We fight through the forest to find the fortress, and with that, our first roadblock. To continue, we have to beat all of these guards, with 2 of them out of melee reach. Usually, you would just cast fire. Obviously, we can't do that. We do get a limit break at this point, however, and after we beat all the ground troops, we then proceed to use it to defeat the out-of-reach enemies. We proceed to enter the fortress and defeat every enemy inside to obtain a fire armlet, which will be essential for later. Make sure you pick this up. We then fight twin giants, which, you know, I'm calling them the twin giants because I can't pronounce that name, which is a pretty easy fight. Just focus on one, and then after that one's down, focus on the other one. We are next forced to fight Ifrit, who can almost defeat us with his special ability. The only thing saving us is the 50% fire reduction damage from that fire armlet. As see, I told you it'd come back. So long as we're careful and only attack twice before running away, it is only a matter of time before he goes down, but we will be using a lot of potions. Sephiroth proceeds to steal our kill, and we head back to Midgar. We now gain the ability to do missions. I'm not going to go over each one individually, because there's about 500, so I'll just mention the ones of note that we do. Regardless, I spend a good hour or hour and a half doing missions to get any form of power over the hell awaiting us in this next chapter. We head to Bonora to find Genesis, but we find his robot instead. We destroy it by circling around to the back of him and comboing him. We get a perfect on the slashing minigame, obviously, and we also find some of those scattered items. We are then greeted by my favourite Final Fantasy cutscene to add funny sound effects to.
Angel!
Bahamut is then summoned. We need to make sure to guard against his ground pound attack because it does an obscene amount of damage. Eventually, he just goes down. Song then commits Vietnam war crimes, and we head back to base. Zack is now a soldier, 1st class, and now he can equip 6 materia. I'm sure this is going to change our strategy completely. We do another hour or so of missions before continuing the story. A side note worth mentioning is a woman in the Shinra building can give you infinite Phoenix Downs. If you die in a mission, talk to her again. We need to rush to the front of the building because Genesis is attacking. We take care of all these robots and head into town to meet Cisne and get her limit break ability. After, we go fighting through the plate to find 3 mechs as the boss for this chapter. Focus on each one individually, and you should have no problem at all. We then get thrown several hundred feet into the slums, and Zack dies. We now gain access to gaining additional accessories. This is something we want to do now as soon as possible, as this will actually almost double our capabilities. And outside of getting the Buster Sword later, it's our only actual power increase. We do all of M72's missions to gain access to those 4 slots, and a whole bunch of others, including the Tonberry quests, because why not? I found one. Tonberries are actually quite easy, just keep checking to make sure they aren't using Chef's Knife and you're good to go. They also give truckloads of XP, either that or I'm very underleveled. Oops. We get back to the Shinra building to protect everyone's favourite creep, Hojo.
As you, my dear.
Genesis summons again, and we fight Robo Bahamut, I guess. I forgot the name of him. We need to be sure to guard against every one of his attacks because any one of them can down us at this point. We can't actually stop his ability at this point, so we either need Aerith's limit break before it goes off or invincibility through gaining a 777. Before we begin the story of this chapter, we do about an hour and a half of grinding high-level missions, both for the XP and accessories. I'm kind of hoping to get 4 hyper wrists, which each grant 20 attack. In between finding these, we do more missions just for the level ups. We then get to hear the greatest line in all history.
Me? GONGAGA.
We then have to fight Genesis, who casts regen and can cast either wall or mana wall, which will negate all attacks of that variety. Luckily for us, he casts Mana Wall the Fool, and with our increased attack we beat him without a single issue. However, we then need to fight Angeal. He alternates between Barrier and Mana Wall. We keep at range when he casts Barrier because our attacks aren't actually going to be able to do anything, but we go in close when he casts Mana Wall and attack him with everything we have. We can attack his tail to always hit a critical, but if he hits you with that counter, you will almost die immediately. After a heart-to-heart, Angeal gifts Zack the Buster Sword. In this chapter, we finally now get to use the Buster Sword, and with that, the last big progression in the game. Now we finally dig deep into the missions. This is because we can now get our Buster Sword proficiency up. Once it's high enough, we will be able to break the damage limit while using Battle Stance, which is an ability we gain with the Buster Sword. We then fight through Junon, trying once again to find Hollander. I swear this guy gets captured more than Princess Peach. As any normal scientist does, he lets tanks out to hunt the local civilians, and we have to stop him because Zack's the good guy, kind of. Hollander then sets the Scorpion Sentinel out on us 7 years early, and then gets to do a flip.
Hey!
Sephiroth proceeds to criticise our lack of Hollander catching abilities, and we head back to Midgar. Chapter 7 is mostly story. The only thing worth noting is that before we leave, we want to make sure we talk to the woman in the Shinra building for the free Phoenix Down. This is the last one we're going to be able to get. We build a flower cart with Aerith.
I want a nicer one.
And we head off.
To Nibelheim.
We arrive. Instead of getting a really powerful summon, I instead wish to listen to Sephiroth grunt for a little bit. After listening to the worst therapist on the market,
Used the remains of countless failed experiments to create a perfect monster.
Sephiroth goes a little mad and has a barbecue. Unfortunately, the locals aren't a fan of his cuisine, and he peacefully leaves, leaving us to follow it. We are then forced into a fight with him, and oh boy, is this one an endurance round. Sephiroth has many hard-hitting attacks, like Draw Slash, that will kill you if we're not at full health. For the first phase, try to get behind him and land as many criticals as we can. We can tell which phase he is currently in because at the end of that phase, he will attempt to use an Octoslash. We need to do our best to stop this because it hurts quite a bit. In phase 2, Sephiroth summons these crystals, which have Protect on them at all times. Oops! We try our best to avoid these attacks, and Sephiroth's attacks, until phase 3, where he summons an additional 2. We need to take out the green crystal he summons because it will continually heal Sephiroth and cast Protect and Mana Wall on him. After that, we just keep attacking Sephiroth. We need to keep waiting until it's safe. We may be waiting several minutes in between hits. Without the green crystal, he can't heal, and we're not on a time limit. After all that, we finally gain a checkpoint in this fight, and Sephiroth begins marching towards us. Luckily, this is actually the easiest part of the fight. Even if you die, Sephiroth is nice enough to wait until you come back to life with a Phoenix Down. Cloud steals our hard-earned kill, and the chapter is more or less over at this point. We begin chapter 9 with possibly the worst barber anywhere in media.
No way. He just ate my hair.
And are then treated to a G eliminator. If Sephiroth didn't tell me that I was currently underleveled, this thing sure did. We need to be a far higher level if we want to be completing the rest of this game. However, with the use of a single Phoenix Down and a lucky draw on the DMW, we do somehow beat it. We then proceed to beat a whole metric ton worth of missions. This ended up taking me about 10 hours. This grind was mainly focused on XP. I ended up replaying the 50 Shinra Troop mission over and over. I'm not sure if that's actually the best way to grind XP, but you know, it's too late to be complaining now. We continue playing this chapter until we come up against a boss fight that I was feeling pretty anxious over, Hollander, but before that, he tries to cop a field.
Cloud! Watch out!
He's actually completely easy. We just need to defeat the worms he summons and take him out. It turns out that Lazard has been assisting us this whole chapter, and he gives Zack a lecture only he can truly give.
So, Zack, what is your dream?
Huh? Oh. Let's see.
To beat Crisis Core without Materia.
Unattainable dreams are the best kind.
we collect all the goddess Materia and proceed to Genesis. Genesis is always out of range, so to attack him, we need to wait until he puts his sword down and attack his Materia. While his sword is down, he will spawn 4 smaller enemies. Some of these enemies will have protect on them at all times. We should not focus our attacks on these because these guys will only respawn when they're defeated. The other 2 types need to be defeated before targeting the sword, which is moderately easy. We just need to make sure that they don't overwhelm us at any point. We find ourselves incredibly underpowered and do another 10ish hours of grinding. Oh boy, can you see why this video took so long to come out? At this point, I do actually suggest attempting the 1000 Shinra Yard mission, because the XP is so much greater. However, something of note is that if you die, you do not keep any of your XP, all that time is wasted, and this mission can take upwards of 30 to 40 minutes. These were our final stats, and the equipment loadout I decided was best. I would love to describe to you the strategy in this fight, but I didn't have one. I was mostly running around shouting about how very dead I was until I somehow lucked out and beat Genesis's avatar. With that comes the final fight against Genesis himself. If you've gotten this far, it's only a matter of time before you beat Genesis. And with Genesis defeated totally forever, I promise, the Crisis Core No Materia run is complete.